So my water is boiling. Okay, I'll try to get this best I can for you. I don't have one of those fancy phone holder things. So as this is boiling, I am going to take about a tablespoon of butter. I like to add some butter to the water as it's boiling. It all depends on how much butter and salt you like. I like a lot because we can't be healthy when it comes to pastina. So I put a couple little pats of butter in there. Now, as I'm waiting for it to boil, I'm going to crack my egg. And give it a little twist. It doesn't have to be like scrambled. Just so that it's a little bit mixed like that. Okay. So I never usually measure the pastina. So what I do is the amount of water that I have in there, I usually fill up half that amount with pastina, maybe a little bit less. So for this purpose, there's 4 cups of water in my pot. So I'm gonna put about 1.5 cups of pastina. So let's see. I never measured it before. I hope it comes out okay. Usually I just eyeball it. So I'm gonna put, I'm gonna put about 2 cups of pastina, almost 2 cups. Also, I never cooked this on an electric stove before, but the new stoves in my apartment are electric, so we'll be learning this together. Okay. So I'm just waiting for the water to boil. Okay. It's boiling pretty quick. So, a little salt in the boiling water. Unfortunately, the key to this recipe is a lot of butter and salt, and it's actually embarrassing. But if you don't eat the whole pot, it's really not that bad. A little bit at a time. It's almost boiling. So I'll show you. Almost. I like to melt the butter while it's boiling so that when the pastina is cooking, it absorbs that buttery flavor right into the pasta. Hopefully this video helps. But don't judge the amount of butter and salt here. I didn't get this girly figure from being conservative with my pastina or my wine. So now the water's coming to a boil. You can see. I'm gonna add this. And like I said, I usually put pastina that comes to about half the amount of the water that I was boiling. Get a spoon. Mike is sleeping, so that's why I'm kind of being quiet. See, we're just stirring this in. Let it cook. Lower the flame also, because you don't want it boiling too rapidly. You don't want that. Bring it down to like a simmer. And as far as the butter is concerned and the salt, you do it for your taste. Like I said, I'm Irish, so lots of salt goes in this for me. I'm just gonna stir often. Add a little more butter, because I like that flavor when the pasta absorbs the butter into it while it's cooking. It's delicious. Sometimes if you think that you added too much pasta and it starts to get stiff before it's ready, you can add a little more water. I've done that so that the pasta water ratio is kept like okay. Still a little bit too high. See, I'm not used to this electric stove shit. I always had gas. I guess stove. Okay. So, looks like there's a little too much water, too much pasta in here. So I'm gonna just add a little bit more water. See, because it's boiling like this and the pasta's like not even really done yet. You can see it's like already thickened, so I'm just adding a little bit more water. You don't want it like thick before it's cooked, then you'll get hard pastina. And when that starts coming up to a little bit of a boil, little more water. So good. Okay. So now when this comes to a bit of a boil, what I'm gonna do is then I'm gonna scramble in the egg. It's getting there. Okay. So now it's starting to bubble up again a little bit. See? and it's a little thick. So now I'm just gonna take this egg. I don't know if I could get the pot. So what I do is I pour it in small drips like this and make sure that the spoon or fork is scrambling that egg really well when it hits the hot water, so that you don't have like big clumps of just egg. If you do this, the egg stays like very loosely scrambled and not like big chunks of just like egg. Just so. I'll lower it. And at this point, we add a little bit more butter and salt to taste. That's up to you. At this point, I usually just add a little bit of butter, and then before I make myself a plate, it's not like I serve it because I usually am the only one that eats it. Right before I put some in a dish for myself, I add whatever salt and butter I want. So now you're going to have a consistency that looks like this. See how nice and thick that is? And that's it. And that's exactly how I make my pastina. I don't usually make this much of it, but I will keep it in the fridge for a couple of days and eat it like as snacks. Because I try not to eat too much at one time because it is so rich and buttery. So I just try to have a little servings at a time, maybe with some toast or crackers, especially when you're not feeling well. It's so good. And this is your finished pastina. It's going to thicken as it cools and will get very like stiff. So if you keep it in the fridge and you heat it up, you might want to add a little bit of water just to loosen it before you heat it up, because it might stay like stiff. But I hope that was helpful, and let me know what happens when you try it. And I love you, and I will talk to you soon.